WildCast, back talking to Carlos Flores now, one of our managers back in our pipe yard, CNC group. So Carlos, thanks for hanging out with us and chatting a bit.
Glad to be here.
What we're trying to do here is just capture stories and really learn about the people that work here at Wildcat, make it the great place it is to work. And you're no different, you're one of those for sure. So let's start though with where were you born and raised?
Born and raised in Midland, Texas. Been here my whole life. Went to high school, did a little bit of college out here, and just stayed here and worked.
Yep. So when you were growing up, what did you want to be?
You know, growing up, I wanted to be a baseball player, professional baseball player. It obviously wasn't in the cards. I did okay in high school, but didn't make it pro or anything like that.
What position?
Shortstop.
Okay.
Yeah. Played middle infield, but shortstop mostly.
Nice. So baseball dream.
Oh yeah.
It died.
Oh yeah.
Couldn't get it done. And then what? You're from Midland, just like I am. So it was like just, okay, well now I guess oil and gas.
Yeah, so my parents had have a trucking company, and at the time they had a casing storage facility, and they did a little bit of transload off the rail. So kind of fell into that whole groove there with them. Started managing their pipe yard. You know, started out as a yard hand, I guess, but moved up to managing. Then started helping a lot with the transload stuff, and worked a lot with Union Pacific Railroad. And then, you know, after a while, just decided to peel off from the family business and kind of go down my own road, I guess.
And what'd you do there?
So I did a short little stint at United Casing, and then through some people that I had done work with at my parents' company, I got connected with some guys at Basic Energy Services, and they were starting a tubular division, doing tubing and drill pipe rental and handling tools, stuff like that. And got connected with those guys and went to work at Basic for about 5 years, and eventually started managing that that yard, and had 3 sales guys that worked underneath me, and we did pretty good over there, man. And then decided I needed a change of pace from there. Kind of Basic was kind of going through some bankruptcy stuff, and Nick reached out to me and asked me if I was interested in coming to see what Wildcat had going on, and now I'm here.
When was that?
That was 2019.
So 2019, you joined Wildcat, and you come over here and you start helping manage that pipe yard. Where was the pipe yard when you got here in terms of its evolution to where it is now?
Man, whenever I started, and I think Nick was probably there about a year before me, they were pretty much exclusively working on just Wildcat's tubing, doing inspection for Wildcat, and then Nick had slowly started getting some drilling contractor work in there. But I mean, that yard was, man, it maybe had 10 racks in there whenever I showed up, and most of it was Wildcat tubing.
Right. Just doing internal servicing of our own internal needs.
Yeah. Right. Dude, you know, and it was pretty slow in the yard. You know, we didn't have a whole lot going on. You know, we had more machines and stuff than we needed just to service Wildcat stuff. And I think that's when Nick and I kind of came through and really got that stuff off the ground with doing outside work, not just Wildcat's own internal business.
And how did you know, Nick was on here earlier and he was talking about how he, you know, worked within his internal network to really identify, you know, how to position the pipe yard and market. What were you doing specifically to do the same?
You know, I would say most of my role at that time was really just getting the yard in the kind of condition it needed to be in, getting racks set up, getting the guys kind of pointed in the right direction. You know, Nick did a great job of doing that, but him not having a big background in drill pipe and stuff like that, that's where I came in, you know, kind of helping with the technical side of things and
like how to lay the yard out,
right,
where to position people,
right, and then you know, helping out with like scheduling certain things going on in the yard, you know, making sure the guys were unloading and loading properly and safely. You know, I think that's where my strong point when I first came into Wildcat was really getting put into play. You know, and Nick did a great job networking with the drilling contractor guys, and you know, it was a little out of the ordinary. You know, a lot of guys with a machine shop and inspection, they tend to go after operators and really chase that kind of work. And, you know, and I think it's, you know, that part of it is just so saturated, and going after the drilling contractors really helped us get a leg up, you know, on our side, on the machine shop, and just not a lot of guys were chasing them, you know.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that a lot of the other pipe yards that do similar or the same type of work that we do don't see as much value in chasing that contractor?
Well, I really think it's just because, you know, most of the work is coming from the operator, and those are the guys that are really making a lot of the calls, and they just have so much more money, you know, coming in and than those drilling contractors and stuff do. You know, it's just it's the shiny thing to go after. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it just wasn't as appealing to go after the drilling contractors. It's, you know, I don't mean that to sound in a bad way, but, you know, just the operators are the thing that people want. They want that work. I think they feel like that work is just more consistent. And honestly, I just think they were wrong about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would say based on the success we've had and the approach you described, I think they are.
Yeah.
I think they are missing out on that opportunity, and good for them.
Yeah,
Go ahead and miss out
absolutely.
on that. We'd be more than happy to have that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, if you think about what you're describing, you know, you're there, you're figuring out the layout of the yard, how things should operate, the flow, all those things. Nick's out leveraging his network and building contacts. Had you not been in place and had the structure of the yard such that it is, when the work did come in, it would have been a lot more challenging.
Absolutely. I think the way we went about it was great. You know, I had my focus, he had his focus, and I think that created a lot of success for us because we were getting off on the right foot.
Yeah, I can't argue with it. So when you came to Wildcat, when you're looking at Wildcat as a company to come to work for, what did you see in it that you were like, yeah, I think I can do that?
Honestly, the potential. You know, there was a lot of guys that were already working in the yard that I knew from previous work, guys that have done work for me while I was at Basic, and they worked for other companies, you know, inspection companies and stuff like that. And so when I saw a lot of guys that I recognized, it kind of gave me a good feeling. I was like, man, you know, they got some good, solid guys working here already. I think that we could do a lot with this. You know, they had the structure there. You know, they had the nice inspection facility. They had the nice machine shop. They had the cleaning machine and a lot of space out in the yard. And it just seemed like a good fit for me. I liked the way everything looked. I liked the people that I had met. And for the most part, you know, it's just a good culture feeling all the way around.
Yeah, and you didn't know that though then. You just hoped.
Right? I'd hoped, just basically from the guys that I'd seen there and met in that short period, you know.
And already knew.
Right.
And you're like, well, if
they're happy,
yeah.
You know, and I asked those guys a few questions, and everybody was happy with it, and I was like, man, this seems like a pretty solid place. I think I'll give this a shot, you know.
So you come in, obviously as the work increases, you've got to add personnel. Mm-hmm. And in a lot of cases, like Nick mentioned in the session we had with him, was you're adding personnel during COVID, which companies weren't doing that, and we were doing that. And how do you go about that process of growing with people in the market in terms of the availability of people is saturated? How do you determine this person's a fit or not a fit when they're pretty much anyone you want out there?
Yeah, you know, it was a little challenging in some ways because, you know, you think that a lot of these companies are going to keep some of their best guys, you know, during that downturn. They're going to get rid of some of the excess weight or something like that, you know, just to kind of offload some of the dead weight, I guess is what I should say. But so I would say it was probably a little bit challenging, but there was just a lot of good guys up for grabs. And, you know, I think for the most part, I don't know how much hiring we did a few, but most of it was just guys that we kept. You know, we didn't have to let anybody go. We continued to stay strong in the yard and had a bunch of rigs sending in their pipe. And shoot, man, I'd say, I don't think it was really all that challenging. You know, like I said, we kept most of the people. We didn't do a whole lot of hiring during that time.
And we don't see a lot of turnover at Wildcat in general.
No.
And the pipe yard is probably even an area more especially that doesn't see that turnover. What do you attribute that to?
I think it's just we got a good bunch of guys, man, and we listen to our guys. I think it's a big part of it. We have some solid guys in there, some solid supervisors that know how things are needing to be ran, and we listen to them. Like George in the machine shop, I mean, you just point that guy in the right direction, tell him what you need done, and he's all over it. And he treats his guys well. I'd like to think that we treat our guys well, which, they're still around. So I just think all around we have a good team and everybody works really well together. And I think that's what really keeps these guys here and happy.
Yeah, I think that I can't think of any other reason they would say they can go do this type of work other places and probably have had opportunities to do that.
Absolutely.
And have chosen to stay here.
Yeah.
And that speaks volumes about the culture that you guys are creating back there and the overall culture that Wildcat allows you to create. And so that only benefits not only your business, but Wildcat, but ultimately our customers, because you're getting that consistency. And Nick mentioned that in his session, where when now you're going back to the guys and you're talking about certain rig packages, pipes, things like that. They already know the historical data because they've worked there. They've been there long enough to they know the historical records on that. It's not I have to learn this and then try to figure it out. That's invaluable.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of our guys know our customers too. And like our inspectors, for example, they know a lot of the guys that we do work with at Akita, at Citadel, at Ensign now, and those customers trust those guys. They know them by name, and we like to have those guys kind of involved with it, and get to meet some of these guys that come in and tour the facility and get to see our equipment and everything. And I think those guys kind of feel a part of it at that point, right? Because I think more often than not, a lot of companies kind of keep those guys in the background and don't really let them get involved in meeting some of these people that come through and that want to come tour the facility. I think it's good that they get to know them, and I think it gives them a little bit more pride, with what they do, because they know who they're working for and they know that they're appreciated.
Well, and they also know that person knows them.
Right.
So that creates a sort of reverse pressure that you're almost saying, I guarantee this will happen. And I know if I were in a position of someone running a company and was sending all of my tubulars to you guys to handle, I would want to know the guy that's running a lathe. I'd want to know the guy running the inspection machine. I'd want to know that so that I was comfortable with that. I'd want to shake that person's hand. And you're right. Many companies, a lot of times, on a tour, be like, and that's the machines, and that's this, and rather than saying, hey, this is, and he runs your, and I think that's a great opportunity. I think it's a miss when other companies don't do that.
I agree.
So as you look forward, going through the pipe yard, and now we're at a great place. We've added a few product lines, the remote testing and that type of stuff. What do you see on the horizon for the pipe yard?
I see, once we get a little bit more traction, we're doing really well in the mobile side of the inspection. I really see us expanding that quite a bit more. And, with one trailer that we have right now, we can't hit near as much as we would like. You got one trailer on a job and then another one calls in, it's tough, to try to schedule all those things. So I think that would probably be a good place for us to kind of expand. And then we're, as far as the equipment in the yard goes, just trying to offer more and more services. We want to add another CNC machine. And, we've talked about doing just exclusively a sub shop kind of deal, having where all the, right now you have machines that have pipe racks on them, handling systems on them, and you cut subs on those things and you're just wasting what that rack could be doing. So I think that is another expansion, is just having just exclusively subs on certain machines. Just that's all they do. And then, we'd like to dive into doing a lot more of the hard banding, grinding, stuff like that. But I think as far as that goes in the yard, just expanding those service lines, and then, eventually, who knows, we might open up another yard somewhere else. So.
Yeah, if it makes sense, why not?
Yeah.
So when you look at that and you say, man, we're in a great place now, we could run this business for a long time. What are you doing yourself and what are you doing for your team to guard against complacency and not saying this is good enough?
Yeah, one thing that I think we've done pretty well is we've kind of moved a lot of guys up internally, and I think that's showing that to the guys. Like, we've had some yard hands that have moved up into inspection and learned that side of it and gotten them certified, getting their level 2 certifications. And I think showing the guys that that's possible in the yard really helps keep them motivated and keep them moving forward. Because there's a lot of places that just go straight to hiring outside and bringing in guys from elsewhere. And I think that really puts a damper on some of the guys' motivation whenever they see that all the time and they don't see, they may feel like they've been doing a lot of hard work and they don't have that opportunity to move up. So I think we've done a really good job of doing stuff like that and keeping those guys motivated, because there is that possibility to keep moving forward. We had a yard hand that is now a CNC machinist that we've trained, and he's doing that now. So I think Nick and I try really hard to make those type of things happen, to keep those guys motivated. How
do you guard yourself against complacency?
Man, just with all the new lines of business that we've been diving into, it keeps us pretty busy. And it keeps me excited. I love it. It's a new challenge, and with our upper management being willing to invest the money in us, man, I'm excited for it. They're happy to let us keep moving forward. So
keep moving forward.
Keep moving forward, yeah.
So one thing I would be remiss if I didn't bring up is your LinkedIn picture. And we've talked about this at length, and I don't know where you get off wearing a tuxedo in a LinkedIn picture. I don't know how you've pulled that off. But,
yeah.
I just have one question about that. You think you're better than me?
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm a firm believer in dressing nice and feeling good. So I don't always dress nice and all the time. Not in a tuxedo, at least. But
was that a rented or owned?
That one is owned. It is
that's
owned.
Impressive.
It is owned.
If it was rented.
But I'll tell you what, man. Everybody comments on it. And people remember it. So.
They do. They absolutely do. Yeah, it's not some basic. I give you shit every time I see you about it. You're the James Bond of our Wildcat group.
And after you started giving me crap about it, I changed it to my contact photo in my phone. So now it changes.
Oh, you leaned into it.
Yeah, so I leaned into it, and I get, I'll get rig managers, I'll get guys that work for whoever comment on it, but I'll tell you what, they remember it.
Yeah, it's funny how something is that you'd never even thought about that when you made it that your picture can do something like that.
Yeah.
So, well, man, I appreciate your time sitting down talking about your. How you found your way to Wildcat, and then what we're doing now, and I look forward to, as the product lines expand, the business expands, sitting down again and talking about the challenges you overcame and where we're going from there.
Shoot, yeah, man. I appreciate you having me.
All right, brother. Thanks, man.
Thank you.